The piece stemmed from an idea I had where I was singing portions of a Bach Passion, and the conductor synthesized the idea of a Bach Passion into 3 different levels. You have the narrative with these choruses, and then you have these arias by individuals commenting on the moment, the emotional moment, gravitas, and then the chorales, which for the German audiences of the time were very special. And it occurred to me that I never really had that experience. I don't have a singing culture in the same way that the Germans and many European and other world cultures do. As an American, that's not something I'm born with. So I wanted to connect with that. As a composer of choral music, I'm particularly drawn to form, often sacred forms in secular concepts or vice versa. And this particular form was really fascinating to me because there are multiple layers that speak to the importance of a particular subject. For passions, it's the Christ figure and the suffering of that figure. For this passion, it occurred to me that Transcendentalism is, in and of itself, the movement going through a suffering of sorts, dealing with the burgeoning socioeconomic and political issues of the time. What's amazing is that the philosophy is very relevant. It's very relevant. A lot of what they say has to do with the socioeconomics of today, the politics of today. That's what drew me toward maybe writing a passion with the Transcendentalists as the focus. I have to be honest and say that I had a very nominal relationship with Transcendentalism before this. But when I knew that I wanted to start a passion, I started looking for preachers that would be all-encompassing figures, like they would be the Christ-like figure in a passion, but it would be an American passion about this preacher. And once I realized that there's no perfect preacher in America, then I thought, okay, well, what about just general people? And then it occurred to me that any one person doesn't really fit the guise, or maybe my concept of what this could be was changing. And it occurred to me that maybe I need to start looking at American movements that had value to us today. And sure enough, once I came back to those preachers that I had looked at, many of them were a part of this amazing Transcendentalist movement in the 20th century, or the 19th century, and yet it was relevant to us in the 20th and 21st centuries because they all split apart in their own little way, using the Transcendentalist ideals for their own hopes for us as Americans and humanity. I mean, some of them went off and were so focused on really socioeconomic issues, things like abolition, because at that time it was before the Civil War, or women's rights, or gender inequality. And then there were some that were really focused on being open to religious conversation. Many of them got on each other's nerves because they thought Transcendentalism was the focus that they were looking at. However, I saw it as a broader view of an American ideal where we can be the best version of what we can be. And we're within reach of that. Just like mysticism and other overarching religious or spiritual concepts are really relevant to us today, even though they were also relevant thousands and hundreds of years ago, I find Transcendentalism to be a little bit dated in terms of the specifics that they were dealing with, but it's very relevant. Transcendentalism boils down to how can we become the best version of ourselves? That's how I perceive it. And luckily, all the Transcendentalists perceive it in different ways, so I'm right in line with the lineage here.